It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Good afternoon, guys. 3rd of December 2019. This is Light Forex Global YouTube channel. My name is Piotr. It's my pleasure to be with you today. And we are about to cover, during this short stream, we are going to cover Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? But before we start, risk warning as usual, guys, please bear in mind trading crypto on margin carries a high level of risk. May not be suitable for all investors who can sustain a loss of some or all initial investment. So please do not invest the money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. All right. So what we have here, we have daily Bitcoin chart, and well, unfortunately, you know, some of you know me, some of you knows me already, and you know that I'm quite positive towards the Bitcoin, towards all those new technologies. So, well, I'm always trying to find positives, right? Even when we are talking about the charts. Of course, charts is not everything. That's what we discussed a few times already. Meaning that some kind of the news, then some kind of the developments in China. So many different things. So compared to let's say to FX, it looks a little bit different, especially that it's still a very young market, right? It's easier to manipulate that market. So it's still relatively young. So, well, unfortunately, based on the chart only, that's the most important thing. Unfortunately, I can't see positive things here, right? So we are going to discuss the whole situation. Before we start, let me remind you what guys from Light Forex prepared for the traders. Is a special New Year gifts from Light Forex, and they are waiting for the winners. There are a few stages. And you are able to find more details visiting that website I put on the chat, all right, or contact directly Light Forex customer service. So there's special New Year gifts from Light Forex, few stages. For example, iPhone 11 Pro Max 256 gigabytes. So, well, that could be quite a good one. Okay, USA. Let's switch back to the chart. 1 second. This one, no, it's this one. Okay, it's this one. Okay, so Well, because it's December already, right? So what we have to remember about, guys, we have to remember about the thing that usually is a moment when some big guys will try to take the profits, will try to cut the losses, will try to settle some trades, right? So the first thing we have to remember about, all right, is where we are in comparison to the beginning of the year, right? When all those investments been done at the beginning of the year, right? So if I'm not mistaken, that's the 2019 yearly open. So we are going to make it as a red. If you were watching the first educational video, you are going to know what I'm talking about. All right. So based on the chart I'm using, 3,850. So right here, right now, it's like, you know, they doubled the investment. I'm not saying if someone was taking the profit higher. We were previously talking about these upper shadows, right? Anyway, so that might be, you have to remember, you have to have it in the back of your head. That if we had some buyers here during the first quarter, right? If we had some buyers during the first quarter, right? And some of them are still holding longs. So some of them most probably are gonna be forced, are gonna be tempted to take the profits, to show to their clients, look what we did, right? So that's the first possible supply we have to remember about, right? So taking into consideration the things happen from the very beginning of the year. Now, we also have to remember the latest moved here, the one over here. So let's call it post-China positive news, Riley, right? So I'm not saying that during here probably we had some kind of the hot money and stuff like this, right? But then when the dust settled here, right? Then probably against someone here, there was some buyers again based on this China news, right? So in case you bought above 50% of that China's rally, right? So you are underwater right now. And doesn't matter. If you are a private investor, you may want to try to cut the losses. The weak hands might be forced to cut the losses. If you are managing the money, you also might be forced to cut the losses, right? So that's the second way of the possible supply, of the supply we can expect here on the Bitcoin chart, right? And those two, so meaning the profit takers and the weak hands, which are gonna be forced to exit, that might be enough supply to push the prices lower, right? So let's think for a second about that. If you know what kind of the supply you might expect, even you want to buy, right? You may want to manipulate those two earlier mentioned forces to sell, to push prices lower, right? To push prices lower, right? You don't want to buy right here, right now, if you are not in a rush and you expect that you are going to have some sellers who are in a rush. Okay? So in that case, you are taking the step back. You are even creating the environment. If you can manipulate the market, you creating the environment where all those weak hands and profit takers are forced to simply sell their bitcoins, right? And that's where the speculative capital, hot money, may join here as well. So that's the third short-term possible supply, all right? And the most dangerous one, okay? But that's the fast money. They will come, boom, 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 down, take profit, gone. Right? So let's have a look what we have on this daily chart of the Bitcoin and the even weekly chart of the Bitcoin. So let's start with weekly. All right, there you go. That's the weakness, right? We discussed last time, right? That's from where we went lower, right? And previous week we tested this level. So personally being very positive towards the Bitcoin, I truly believe that some buyers should be in between 2 weeks ago low, in that case somewhere between 7,100 and 6,800, and the last week low, right? So based on the weekly chart, we can make, based on the weekly chart, we can put this type of the zone here. All right. Now, but you know, it cannot be based on the what you believe in, because in that case, well, it's gonna be challenged to earn some money, only believing in something. But that's what is worth to remember, that where price might react, right? The price action from the previous week, right? Attempt to rally, upper shadow, where we saw latest demand, the pre-China news announcement demand. We had this blue line, that blue line, we had it here. So what happened? Retest, rejection. That's negative, guys. That's negative. What else is negative? Let's take the measure of the China news, based on the China news. Let's assume that the upper shadow here, some kind of the no liquidity, so next day high, as well as this low over here, right? And because this wave been broken and retested, so if we are about to make similar in size move to the downside, it looks like 5,500 might be in place, guys, and that's the possible another zone of the demand on the weekly, and it looks like that's where we might want to go. All right, that's where we might want to go with Bitcoin. So let's switch to the daily. It's even better visible. All right, so we know where we faced the problem, what was based on the weekly chart. It's even better visible here on the daily chart. It's even better visible here on the daily chart, right? If you remember beginning of June, that consolidation here, and from here we went higher, right? So then we fall back towards these levels, consolidation, attempt to break China's news, boom! Failure at the top of the falling trend line, boom, 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 lower. So what happened last week? Move back, retest the zone which were supposed to work as a demand, and actually it worked twice as a demand. So once it been broken, meaning that the supply, the seller supply took over, was bigger. So what happened? We retest the previous demand, now supply, and we have the rejection. Doesn't look good. So it's gonna be better visible, the move, China move, but not taking the high, taking the next day high, break, boom, 5,500, maybe even 5,000 psychological level could be in place, right? So negative right now, but just important here is we are talking about the chart only, right? But there was several positive news coming into the market, okay? Like there is a preparation for the German banks in Germany, overall the law to allow German banks to be custodian, to offer the crypto. That's positive news. A few months back, we get the positive information that the retailers in France are going to be, plenty of them are going to be able to accept crypto. So there are small things, small dots, right? Somewhere, back in our head. Also, when we are talking about the positives, right? When trying to counter this charts which doesn't look good, right? So another thing is, in my opinion, the traders, investors, well, I think that the risk, overall risk about no deal between US and China is not fully priced in. It looks like market is like, okay, they will have an agreement. But then, look what happened. President Trump is in London, so he can tweet much earlier over the course of the day. So he already tweeted. He will, like from the power perspective, it's about President Trump, if there is going to be the deal or no. And he also mentioned that he may wait until post-election in US. Right? So that's quite important, and that may spur some storm on the market, and that might be the chance for the top cryptos to be bought, for example, right? From the investment perspective, we will see. I don't know. And probably as long as you cannot move the market, it's this type of the approach is needed, right? Cautious, not all in as some advising, right? Cautious. Anyway, what we need here, because we have this failure, and of course we have to get back and close above previous week high, right? So 7,900, 8,000. That's what we have to move above, all right? And would be great to have 2 consecutive daily close above that level, and that might produce another rally and another retest of this falling trend line, right? But break of that falling break of that falling trend line, right? It's not gonna be yet the big win for the bulls. It's not gonna be end of the war. It's gonna be small battle in favor of the buyers, then probably some kind of the retest. And you know, this falling trend line is gonna be lower, 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 right? So we might see retest. We might see this 5,000 finally, right? As a retest after the break, and then maybe we will see higher levels. So that's how the things looks like from the higher time frame perspective, weekly and daily. Let's have a look what we have from the intraday perspective right now, right here. All right. So there is a rejection, but what is important here is the latest weakness we have here, 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 and here, right? Here, here, right? Boom, lower low. Okay. So after we broke higher, all right, we are trying to hold that level. What else? Based on this weakness, we have this type of the move to the upside here, all right? So that's two possible, more or less two possible levels of the possible short-term demand on the Bitcoin for our charts. All right. So that's how I see the things on the Bitcoin. So let's switch to Ethereum versus dollar. It's also doesn't look good. Also doesn't look good. We discussed that 160 to 180. Move back into that old consolidation would be great, right? But we also discussed that we cannot rule out the market will try to double that, right? So right now 50%, another retest of 130, 127 could be in place, and that's where the bulls have to step in, right? Otherwise the lows and stop count, it's gonna be possible if you are gonna to take into the consideration, for example, DeFi like Compound, where there are gonna be liquidations. So you have to watch Ethereum from that perspective as well, that someone who can move the market, right, can manipulate and try to liquidate some ether based on the Compound, right? That's what we have to think about. That's what we have to think about. So switching lower to the daily chart. Switching lower to the daily chart. Okay, sorry, this was based on daily. Remove. I'm not gonna be surprised if the market will move a little bit longer based on the possible channel. So lower low compared to what we've seen lately. What would be lower low looks like this, and that would provide the opportunity from the daily chart perspective to take the advantage of that breakout here, right? So that looks like that's the important level to the downside right now. So either we are going to get back above 160 at least for now and hold, or we have to hold 120, right? We have to hold 120, and it looks like there is some stops which might be targeted. Okay, so we have to be cautious. So in that case, I'm not a fan of selling Bitcoin, but with Ethereum, if we are going to see attempt to retest levels close to 160, right, top of that channel, if I'm going to see some kind of the rejection here, I'm with tight stop above any kind of the upper shadow I'm going to get here, well, I will try to take the advantage to the downside eventually. Okay. And the last thing is I've been quite positive in regards to the Ethereum because of we stayed above 002, right? But we already yesterday broke through that. Looks like market may want to retest the 19 level again, and that might create the opportunity to double the latest consolidation and move lower towards 0016, right, to the bottom of that yellow intraday consolidation, right? So looks like Ethereum bulls did not take the advantage of the price action we've seen a few days back or 2-3 weeks ago, right? Looks like they are giving up. One of the reasons might be a bit hack, right? Where plenty of Ether been stolen, so that might be the source of the supply, for example, in the future, right? So we have to remember about this type of the stuff. So it's again flipping in favor of Bitcoin here, in my opinion, but eventually I'm going to take the advantage of the weaker Ether via dollar, okay? Doing the short side. So that's how I see the things here. Let me remind you about the Light Forex New Year gifts. So there are a few stages. iPhone 11 Pro Max 256 gigabytes. Looks like it's waiting. All the participants have equal winning chances. For more details, please visit the website. The link is visible in the chat window, right? For more information, please contact Light Forex customer support. And that's it from me today in regards to the crypto. Please subscribe to the channel not to miss next stream. Have a great rest of the day and see you around.